They had laughed when humanity spoke. In the grand hall of the Galactic Council, beneath vaulted domes of crystal and starlight, the human ambassador had warned them. His voice echoed through the chamber, steady, proud. There is a darkness coming. From beyond the rim. If you continue to bicker and silence us, it will devour you all. The laughter had been cruel. The Veyron delegates hissed mockery. The towering Drex lords called humans upstarts with primitive paranoia. And when humanity pressed again, the council passed its judgment. By majority vote, the humans were expelled, exiled for fear-mongering and warmongering. Their banners were torn from the council walls. Their voice was silenced. Earth was cast out. At first, it was humiliation. Humanity's representatives returned home in shame. The news spread like fire across Earth and its colonies. Billions watched. As their leaders declared, "We are alone." But exile hardened them. Without the Council's suffocating decrees, humanity turned inward and upward. The old rivalries of Earth dissolved, replaced by a single unity forged from humiliation and anger. Where other civilizations stagnated under Council restrictions, humans reached further. They colonized hostile worlds others deemed uninhabitable. They stripped asteroids, built megastructures, and carved hidden shipyards in the void. Their engineers pursued sciences the Council had banned. Quantum folding drives, antimatter forges, biological machine symbiosis. They were no longer restrained by alien arrogance. The centuries that followed were brutal. Humanity's expansion cost millions of lives in failed experiments and harsh colonies. But each failure only fed determination. Each loss carved steel into their spirit. Out of fire, hunger, and exile, they forged titans. The galaxy forgot them. The Council continued its endless politics. Empires rose and crumbled. Petty wars flared and were extinguished. Humanity was not missed. They had been erased from the Chamber of Voices. But beyond the rim, in the void where even council charts ended, something stirred. The warning the humans had once spoken of came true. A devourer. A fleet not of this galaxy, but of another. Hive ships, the size of moons, poured through the dark. Living weapons, stripping systems bare, reducing empires to ash. First, the smaller powers fell. Then, mighty fleets shattered. The Council panicked. For the first time in millennia, their arrogance faltered. Messages were sent across every known star, desperate calls for allies. But when all seemed lost, a new transmission reached them. A voice, calm, cold, and unmistakably human. "We warned you. You laughed. Now you will kneel." The first sight of them broke the galaxy's pride. When the Council's last defenses faltered. Before the invading swarm, the void tore open. From hyperspace emerged ships the size of continents, human warships, not fragile, not crude, titans. Their hulls glowed with living metal plating that shifted like waves of molten steel. Their weapons pulsed with impossible energies. And unlike the Council's fleets, which maneuvered like dancers, humanity's ships moved with terrifying purpose, each one a juggernaut that bent the void around it. The swarm that had shattered. Dozens of empires found itself crushed in hours. Human beams ripped through their carapaces. Drones of metal and flesh tore into their cores. And when the battle ended, the invaders left not even wreckage, only dust in the void. The Council's fleets, which had watched helplessly, turned their eyes toward the new arrivals. Awe, fear, silence. The humans hailed the chamber of the Council once more. But they did not come as exiles begging for return. They came as conquerors. The screens lit with the image of the High Commander of humanity, no longer a humble ambassador in ceremonial robes. He wore armor forged from the void, his eyes glowing faintly with augmentation. Behind him, the banners of a united humanity flared with fire. We warned you of the darkness. You silenced us. And now, you stand only because we chose to intervene. The swarm would have consumed you all. You owe your survival to humanity." The chamber trembled. No one dared speak. From this day forth, the Galactic Council is dissolved. The age of alien arrogance is over. Humanity shall lead, not as equals, but as masters. You will follow, or you will fall. Whispers spread like wildfire across the stars. Some called them saviors, others called them tyrants, but none could deny the truth. The exiles had returned, stronger than all combined. World by world, the Council's empires bent the knee. Not through bloodshed, though humanity's fleets loomed as reminders, but through undeniable reality. Humanity had done what no other could. They had crushed the invaders, ended the war, and stood unchallenged. The irony was not lost on the galaxy. Once mocked as primitives, once exiled as reckless, humans now sat upon the throne of destiny. And yet, in the silence of the new era, humanity remembered. They remembered the laughter in the council halls, the scorn, the humiliation, and they vowed never again to bow, never again to beg for a place among the stars. For humanity had learned the oldest truth of all. Exile was not the end. It was the beginning. And now, the galaxy was theirs. The humiliation was broadcast across 1,000 worlds. Inside the shimmering chamber of the Galactic Council, under the watchful eyes of species older than Earth itself, humanity was put on trial. Their crime was not war, nor invasion, nor cruelty. It was arrogance, the Council declared, an unshakable refusal to bow and obey. The judgment was swift. The banners of Earth were torn from the walls. The human delegation was stripped of all rights. And under the sneering glares of reptilian lords, insectoid queens, and machine intelligences, the verdict thundered through the hall. Humanity is hereby expelled from the Council. They shall have no place among the civilized stars. Billions watched the transmission. On Earth, cities fell into silence. On Mars, workers clenched their fists in fury. Across the colonies, shame turned into fire. But exile was not the end. It was the spark. The first years were chaos. Trade collapsed. Alien markets closed their doors. Ships that once docked in galactic hubs were denied entry. Human goods, human culture, even human lives were branded as outcasts. Yet the Council had miscalculated. Instead of collapsing, humanity adapted. Instead of fracturing, it unified. The humiliation that was meant to break them instead forged their unity. The United Earth Directorate was born, not as a fragile alliance of bickering nations, but as a single banner under which all humanity marched. Cut off from alien trade, humans turned inward. They dug deeper into their sciences. They mined their own worlds. They harnessed the forbidden. What the Council had declared too dangerous or too unstable, humanity now pursued without hesitation. Quantum drives that bent space-time, nanoforges that created fleets from raw asteroids, weapons powered by the heart of dying stars, and soldiers, warriors enhanced with symbiotic technology that blurred the line between flesh and steel. The centuries hardened them. What was once a wounded species became an empire of steel and flame. Meanwhile, the galaxy descended into chaos. The great council that once mocked humans began to fracture. Greed drove its member races into wars. Old grudges flared. Ancient enemies awoke. The Drex devoured border worlds. The Veloth burned colonies to ash. And the council, stripped of unity, could not hold them together. Rumors spread of storms at the rim. Fleets lost without a trace. Stars extinguished. Something vast moving through the void. But the council was too busy tearing itself apart to listen. When the darkness arrived, it was already too late. A force from beyond the galaxy swept through the spiral arms. Their ships were not ships, but titanic organisms, armored in living metal and armed with weapons that unraveled matter. Council fleets shattered before them. Worlds burned. The council screamed for aid. Their cries reached across the stars. But their pleas fell into silence until a voice answered. A voice they had not heard in centuries. We remember your laughter, your arrogance, your exile. Yet we remember also, the galaxy is ours to inherit. The first battle was legend. At the edge of council space, where the swarm of invaders poured into the galactic plane, an armada emerged. Not insectoid, not reptilian, not machine. Human. Their fleets were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. No elegant curves like Elvari ships, no clumsy hulks like Drex war barges. Human warships were colossal, angular titans, glowing with energies the council had banned long ago. Their hulls were black as void, yet alive with veins of burning light. The swarm descended on them and shattered. Human weapons burned with the fury of collapsing stars. Their drones swarmed like a second tide, carving into alien flesh. Their warships moved with perfect unity, as though they shared one mind. And when the battle ended, the council's scouts could scarcely believe their sensors. The swarm was annihilated. The humans had returned. Fear spread through the council. In secret chambers, delegates whispered. Was it salvation or conquest? They did not wait long for the answer. The humans did not request a seat at the council. They did not ask for apologies. They demanded surrender. A transmission filled the chamber where, centuries ago, humanity had been humiliated. Now it was the human High Chancellor who stood in the light, his armor gleaming like forged starlight, his eyes cold and unyielding. Once, you called us arrogant. Now you kneel because only we can save you. The council is dead. From this day forward, humanity rules. Gasps filled the chamber. Some shouted defiance. Others bowed their heads in silence. But all knew resistance was futile. Human fleets surrounded every major world. Their soldiers, augmented and unbreakable, stood ready. And above them all, the memory of the swarm lingered, proof that without humans, the galaxy would already be ash. One by one, the empires bent the knee. Some did so out of gratitude, calling humans saviors. Others out of fear, calling them tyrants. But none could deny their supremacy. Humanity had done what none else could. They had stood against the darkness and won. And so, the exiles became masters. From Earth's throne world to the farthest colony, a new order spread. The shame of exile was rewritten into legend. Humanity declared not vengeance, but destiny. They would never again be silenced, never again humiliated. The council had sought to bury them. Instead, they had given them fire, and fire consumes all. Centuries ago, humanity was cast into silence. The Galactic Council had branded them reckless. Their defiance of council law, their refusal to kneel before the older races, was met with exile. Earth and its colonies were stricken from the star charts, their trade routes cut, their ambassadors cast into the void. Most believed the humans would not survive. Their worlds were young, their fleets small, their numbers insignificant. Without the Council's protection, they would vanish into obscurity, and so the galaxy forgot them. Generations passed. Empires rose and fell. The Council turned its eyes to other matters. The word human became nothing more than a footnote in ancient records, a story told by historians with a shrug. But far beyond the rim, where the Council's authority ended, humanity endured. Exile did not break them. It freed them. The first century was brutal. Without trade, famine struck the colonies. Without allies, pirates descended on their worlds. But humanity learned quickly. They fought like cornered beasts, relentless and cunning. They stripped their enemies of ships and turned scavenged wrecks into weapons. By the 2nd century, they no longer feared pirates. They hunted them. By the 3rd, whispers began to spread, rumors of ghost fleets in the dark, of colonies no outsider had ever seen. Traders spoke of human warships that appeared without warning, bristling with weapons forbidden by the Council. Few believed the tales, but the humans knew the truth. While the galaxy mocked them as forgotten, they were building an empire in shadow. They colonized worlds of burning deserts and frozen wastelands, places no Council species dared claim. They mined black holes, harnessed dying stars, and bent the laws of physics until reality itself seemed their tool. They had no Council to restrain them, and so they grew. The galaxy only remembered them when the Council sought to crush a rebellion. On the world of Yelthar, a small species dared defy the Council's taxation. Their fleet was pitiful, their armies weak, and so the Council sent 3 battle groups to make an example. The battle was meant to be swift, but as the Council's armadas descended, something impossible occurred. The void tore open. A fleet emerged. Not Council, not rebel, but something altogether different. Massive, angular warships black as night, their hulls veined with crimson light. They moved in silence, surrounding the Council's battle groups like predators encircling prey. The Council's admirals demanded identification. The reply froze every translator system with a single, undeniable word: humanity. The battle was not a battle. It was an execution. Council warships, once feared across the galaxy, were shredded in minutes. Human beams sliced through shields like cloth. Their missiles bent space itself, appearing inside enemy formations before detonating. Drones swarmed like a living tide, overwhelming defenses in silence. The Council fleets had no chance. When it ended, nothing remained but wreckage. The rebellion on Yelthar watched in awe as the strangers, no, not strangers, but the forgotten humans, stood as their shield. The message was clear. Humanity had returned. Panic spread through the Council chambers. Delegates shouted. Some denied it. Humans are dead. A myth. Others whispered of vengeance, but all trembled, for censor logs could not lie. The exiles had survived, and worse, they had thrived. A transmission came, filling the chamber with a face not seen in centuries. The human commander stood tall, clad in armor that seemed half machine, half living metal. His voice was steady, cold, unshaken by the storm he had unleashed. You cast us out. You thought we would fade, but exile made us strong. You feasted on arrogance while we bled, suffered, and endured. Now you will face what you created. The delegates trembled. Some begged for negotiation. Others shouted for war. But even as they spoke, reports flooded in. Human fleets appearing on the borders, overwhelming Council patrols, dismantling fortresses. The tide had turned, and nothing could stop it. The war that followed lasted months, not years. Human fleets struck like lightning, targeting shipyards, supply lines, and command hubs with surgical precision. The Council's once mighty empires fell one after another. Their soldiers, unprepared for humanity's ruthless unity, broke. Their rulers surrendered, and when at last the Council convened to beg for peace, the humans entered not as outcasts, but as conquerors. The High Chancellor of Humanity walked into the chamber where his ancestors had once been shamed. No banners of other races hung there now. Only the crimson and silver sigil of a united Earth. He looked upon the silent, trembling delegates and spoke words carved into history. We were exiles, forgotten, laughed at, but now you kneel before us. The galaxy is no longer yours. It is ours. Humanity rules, not as one voice among many, but as the voice of destiny. And so it was. From the ashes of exile, From the silence of centuries, humanity claimed the stars. Some called them tyrants, others called them saviors. But all knew one truth: the forgotten race had returned, and the galaxy would never forget them again.